Greetings and welcome to week 7 of COMM 110, Fundamentals of Public Speaking. We're almost halfway through the semester now, and being almost halfway through the semester, we're getting very close to our first major speech, the informative speech, which is a couple of weeks from now. I'll have a little bit more to say about our approach and your preparations for the informative speech at the end of this introductory video. First though, let me just give a brief overview of what you're going to be doing this week for the coursework. This week is a pretty regular, typical week for us with 2 chapters from the textbook, each of which has a reading quiz that you'll have to take, and then a discussion topic. And that's it for the coursework for this week. No minor speeches. The speech definition that you gave last week was the last of your minor speeches before the first major speech. And no other paperwork kinds of things like you've been submitting the last couple of weeks as you developed your broad topic for your major speeches. So 2 chapters this week, chapters 10 and chapter 11. These 2 chapters dealing with some key concepts and some key skills that you need to gain as we get a little bit closer to doing your first major speech. Chapter 10 is titled Completing Your Speech, and it is going to tell you about a few different things that you need to know about and things that you need to be able to do in constructing a speech. The first 2 of these are the introduction and conclusion to speeches. There's a number of different elements that are customary that public speakers have present in introductions to speeches and in conclusions to speeches. Things like an attention getter, a credibility statement, and a preview in a speech introduction, and review, closing statement in a conclusion. Now, you've been dealing with some of these elements of intros and conclusions already. In the very first minor speech that you did, your introductory speech, you had some of those elements, and I've been having you do those already in the minor speeches so that you're familiar with them by the time we get to this point that we're at now. Where you sort of learn the details behind those and why they are significant components that need to be in the structure of a speech. The third thing that Chapter 10 talks about is transitions. Transitions, as the name indicates, are things that you need to put into a speech to make the transition or the shift from one part of a speech to another part. So there are the particular kinds of transitions that are located or that appear between the introduction and the body of the speech, between the body and the conclusion of the speech, and in between main points in the body of the speech. And so you'll learn about a few different kinds of transitions in Chapter 10 as well, and which I will have as an expectation that you include in your major speeches. Chapter 11 is primarily about outlining, creating speech outlines. Now, as you know, the speeches that you are delivering and will deliver in this class are using extemporaneous delivery. Extemporaneous delivery, of course, means that you do not write out a prepared text for a speech, but instead have an outline that you are using and speaking notes that you are using, which give you the basic structure of the speech and give you some keywords and phrases to remind you what you want to say at each point in the speech and in each part of that structure, but the exact words that you say you are making up as you are actually delivering the speech. So chapter 11, talking about outlining, will teach you some things about how to create an outline for a speech using what's called a full sentence outline. In the use of a full sentence outline, you do write out full sentences for each item at each level of the outline, but then what you do is you create speaking notes that are distinct and separate from the content outline. That's a very important point that I want to make sure everybody understands, is that the content outline, the document where you are sort of working out your structure of the speech and the content of the speech, is a separate document than the actual notes that you have in front of you while you are delivering the speech. And so you'll be learning about both of these things, how to create a speaking outline and how to create speaking notes, the notes that you're actually looking at as you're delivering the speech. And both of those will be covered in Chapter 11. So we are moving forward towards your informative speeches in a couple of weeks. By the end of this week, you will have your broad topic for all three speeches and your specific topic for the informative speech selected. You picked your single broad topic at the end of last week's course plan, and our discussion topic in the Talking About Speaking discussion forum this week is related to your specific topic. So if you haven't already done so, you're going to need to settle on a specific topic for your informative speech to be able to finish or do your discussion posting this week. By the end of this week as well, you should have begun the preparation process for your informative speech and begun preparing for the informative speech in earnest, at least in terms of having that topic settled on, maybe beginning to do research, even beginning to take down some notes and begin to work out your outline. This week, in learning about outlining, that's one of those final skills and final little areas of knowledge that you need to have in order to do the preparation you need to do for your first major speech. The last bit of skills and knowledge that you're going to need to have are those related to delivery, the actual delivery of a speech. And that is going to be the subject of our final chapter, our one and only chapter that we have for next week on delivery. I think it's chapter 14. And so next week we have just one chapter on speech delivery and one reading quiz. I think there's no discussion at all. And the reason for that is that apart from reading that one final chapter and doing the reading quiz on it, you should be spending all of your time next week preparing your informative speech for delivery by the middle of the following week. So your informative speech preparations should begin to take up quite a bit of your time in terms of the time you devote to this course here over the next couple of weeks. And if you have any questions about the specific content we're looking at this week in relation to introductions, conclusions, transitions, outlining, creating speaking notes, or about anything in terms of the mounting preparations that you're doing for your informative speech, please don't hesitate to let me know, and I'll be happy to help you.